Hi, Neil Bertrando here from RT Permaculture in Reno, Nevada. And I'm here today to talk about some low-tech erosion control techniques. This technique that we're going to talk about right now is called soil pitting. It's a very simple technique. And all it takes is a shovel. And so you can see in this photograph, we have a couple of different techniques. One is fish scale straw mulch, which was done over here. That's a separate piece. And then we have the soil pitting, which are these little kind of shadows here. They're a little bit tough to see in this photo, and they're very subtle, and that's intentional. And so this is a location in Riverside County, California, Temecula. It's a hot, dry climate. It gets about 10 inches of rainfall a year in just a few months. The winter time, November through February or March. And this photo was taken and this work was done in about January. So we'd already gotten some rainfall, and the germination and the vegetation had responded to the wet season by getting going. And we noticed that this specific location in the landscape did not respond. There's not, you can see that there's this kind of big bare patch. And so we thought this would be a good location to do some soil pitting. So soil pitting is basically digging just a little pit out of the soil and piling the spoils downhill. And like I said, intentionally, it's tough to see them because they're small structures. You don't want to dig a deep pit and create something that might start to create a rill or a gully or some sort of head cut in the landscape. So really, these are just very shallow pits. And the idea is that they will catch wind or water as it comes onto the landscape, both direct rainfall and runoff, and wind-blown debris, sediment, and stuff will fall into the pits. So it might, go into here, and particular things like some litter left by dead and decaying plant material and seeds and seed heads will hopefully settle into these. And then with the addition of some water during a rain or a runoff event, then you'll get some germination of those seeds with the addition of that mulch and other organic material that settles into the soil pit. And so these were done just over the course of 15 or 20 minutes by a couple people with some shovels. And it's maybe an inch or two deep, sometimes 3 inches, but basically just a very gentle shovel dig and piling the spoils material downhill. And so, enough for it to fill up with water, but not enough so that it would create some sort of cut. And ideally, some seeds will blow in and you get some sort of vegetation response, likely some annuals, but hopefully also some perennial wildflowers or grasses or shrubs. And then let me just clear this. Here's another location where we did soil pitting where there was more exposed soil. And this is kind of on a ridge, so there's not going to be a lot of water runoff going into it. And also there's a very low likelihood of any sort of like rilling or cutting uphill from it. So it's just to catch the direct rainfall and then any wind-blown sediment and seeds, and really just start to try to jumpstart that process of revegetation. Getting any vegetation at all on these bare spots in the landscape would be an improvement over what we're currently seeing.
That's great, Neil. It's such a simple way of working, such a simple way of interacting with the landscape. When you work with this pitting, how long does it take to see recruitment of vegetation, or what's the life cycle after this is done?
So it really is going to depend. You're going to need some sort of rainfall event to cause any sort of recruitment. And so that can be fairly quickly afterwards, especially if you want a couple of little bit of broadcast seeding. You could collect some seed on site or purchase some seed of native wildflowers and grasses and other sorts of desirables specific to the site that you're on, and broadcast them after you do the soil pitting. So you prime the pits with some seeds, but also they can get blown in through the landscape. So if you're going to be getting seeds blown in, you need to have at least seeds that are upwind of this location that are going to be blown into it. So either seeds that had grown that year or wait for a following year in precipitation regime set of events to bring the seeds into the location. If you had some direct runoff coming onto it, unlike this photograph where we were kind of on the top of a little ridge, then the runoff can also bring seeds in. So, that might bring it in with the rain event. So it really is going to depend on a few different factors that's specific to the site. And this is very simple and done with shovels, but it's based on studies that were also done in the Southwest and the deserts in Arizona, where they built a roller with many little imprint or spurs on it, and they would drag that behind a tractor on a 3-point attachment and roll that across the landscape and do much larger scale imprinting on larger landscapes. So, this can be done both with very simple low-tech shovel, hand labor, or it could be, scaled up to a machine type of application as well.
Remarkable work, remarkable. Thanks so much for sharing and taking the time to tell people about this really easy and simple low-tech erosion control. For anybody who's interested, next year, Jeffrey Adams and Neil Bertrando will be running the low-tech erosion control course with regenerativeliving.online. And it's a great way to learn how to use this technique and other techniques like it to bring back vegetation, to bring back wildlife and habitat, to take care of wildfire damage, and to really take care of erosion. So much of our soils are eroded and we're losing tonnage of soil every single year. And these are some great tools to learn and to have in your toolbox. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.